What are the main differences between the UK and the US's political systems? Welcome back to my series, The Politics Playbook, where I, Maddie the Baddie, are talking you through the basics of politics and creating a safe space for you to learn more. Whilst the UK and the US have some similarities, such as they're both democracies, they both hold elections, and they both have two main political parties, they are built very differently. Start with the leaders. So in the UK, you don't vote directly for the Prime Minister, you vote for your local MPs, and then they take a seat in the House of Commons, and whoever has the majority seats in the House of Commons, that party then typically rules the government, and then that party's leader becomes the Prime Minister. Whereas in the US it's different. Voters will cast their ballots specifically for the President rather than Congress, because the President and Congress are actually separate. So the US vote for their head of government directly, whereas the UK, we vote for the party. Another huge difference is where the political power sits. So in the UK, the Prime Minister is also an MP and they sit in Parliament. Their cabinets and ministers are also MPs and they make up the executive. People that run the country are also part of the legislature, the people who make the laws. So this is known as the fusion of powers. Everyone is linked, whereas in the US, they have what's called the separation of powers. The president cannot be a member of Congress, their cabinet also cannot be members of Congress, and it is designed so both the president and Congress can hold each other accountable and cannot do something without permission from one another. Whereas in Britain, because the government has a comfortable majority in the House of Commons, they can usually pass legislation a bit easier. Both leaders, the president and the prime minister, also have quite different levels of job security. The British prime minister can completely lose support of their own party and be replaced by someone else without a general election. We've seen this happen in recent years. It happened recently with Keir Starmer resigning from the Labour Party, being replaced with Andy Burnham. It also happened a few years ago when Boris Johnson was replaced by Liz Truss, and Liz Truss spent about 49 days as the Prime Minister before then passing it to Rishi Sunak. Whereas in the US, the presidents serve a 4-year term and it's very hard to get rid of them unless they are impeached or under conviction or they breach any sort of constitutional circumstances. Another huge difference, which is often overlooked, is the US is a federal system, whereas the UK is more of a unitary system. In the US, the power is shared between the federal government in Washington, DC, and also the local state governments. This means many states have their own governments, governors, laws, and they can make their own laws on issues such like education, drugs, healthcare, elections, gun control, etc. Whereas in the UK, Parliament is completely sovereign and based in London. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland do have devolved governments that might help with things like healthcare and education. However, those powers were granted by the UK Parliament rather than being constitutionally guaranteed like in the US. Finally, there's the role of the head of state. So in the UK, we have two heads of state. We have the Prime Minister, who is elected, like I have mentioned before, and we have the monarch, who is currently King Charles. The king is technically the head of state, but they carry out more ceremonial and constitutional duties, whereas the Prime Minister is the head of the government and they have more of a say. But in the US, they obviously don't have a monarchy, and the president plays both roles, so they are both the head of government and the head of state.